Hi, I'm Rob from B&H, and in this video we're checking out 3 cool new groove boxes from Korg, the Volcas. Ultra portable, inexpensive, and quite powerful, these machines are fun to use, sound great, and interface with professional gear. Basically, the Volcas allow you to create simple, pattern-based loops using their onboard sounds and groove sequencers, and they give you hands-on control so you can sculpt the sounds on the fly, whether you're performing live or making music in the studio. We've got the Volca bass for fat analog bass lines, the Volca Keys for analog synth parts, and the Volca beats for analog and sampled drums. All 3 of the same size, lightweight, somewhat translucent plastic chassis, and they weigh about 0.85 of a pound, not including the 6 AA batteries that will power a unit for about 10 hours. Although I'd recommend picking up the Korg KA350 power supply sold separately. On the bottom half of the face is a ribbon keyboard for triggering sounds, while the top half features a red LED display on the bass and the beats, buttons for the 1-bar pattern sequencer, which can hold 8 different patterns in memory at once, and miniature knobs for sound controls, many of which are clear and feature glowing red LEDs inside that not only look cool, but give you information. Sounds come out of the built-in speaker on the bottom, or the 1/8" mini jack for headphones or external speakers. The groove boxes sync to analog gear and each other via the included 1/8" mini cables and to external gear via their MIDI in ports. The MIDI port also allows you to sequence and play them using external MIDI gear if you want to avoid that ribbon keyboard. Let's take a brief look at each, starting with the Volca bass. The keyboard is reversed, so the black keys on the ribbon correspond to the white keys on a piano keyboard, and an octave knob transposes the keyboard over a 6-octave range. The synth features 3 voltage-controlled analog oscillators, or VCOs, each switchable between a saw and a square wave, so it has a very rich, fat sound. The 12 dB low-pass filter with resonance sounds amazing, serving up deep dubby bass tones as well as aggressive acid bass and lead lines. The envelope generator has 3 knobs, an attack, a decay release, and a third to increase the envelope's effect on the filter's cutoff frequency. You can actually group the 3 VCOs together and slightly detune them for fat sounds, or detune them by intervals to form doubles or even chord-like patterns. VCO 3 can even be set to have its own separate pattern in the sequencer for lead lines on top of the bass. The sequencer gives you a choice between step and real-time recording quantized to a 16th note grid. There's also a slide function that allows you to glide between pitches for a portamento effect that's especially effective for acid lines. There's more detail we could go into, but I want to play a couple of demos for you and move on to the next Volca. Next up, let's take a look at the Volca Beats. It's a very straightforward drum machine with 10 drum sounds on board. The kick, snare, low tom, high tom, closed hat, and open hat are all analog, while the clap, claves, agogo, and crash are PCM samples. The analog sounds have more control knobs for the sound on the front panel, including pitch and decay knobs, while the PCM samples share one knob that adjusts the pitch of the sample, selected with the keyboard. The sounds are quite good overall, especially the analog sounds. It's very electronic sounding stuff, but more than adequately hitting the drum machine basics, especially for dance music productions. The sounds fit right in with house and techno styles. Patterns can be entered in step mode or played live and then quantized to the 16th note grid. Step programming is very easy. The cycling LEDs make it easy to cursor to the sound you want and enter it into the grid. On the one hand, patterns tend to be a bit metronomic because you can't program accents and there's no swing function. On the other hand, you can liven up patterns and performances with the stutter effect knobs. The right knob dials in the amount of the effect, and the left adjusts the timing of it, and those moves can be recorded into patterns using the motion recording function. They can also be set to work on individual parts or the entire machine. It's a very cool feature, and you can also use it to record pitch adjustments on the PCM samples as well. Let's demo the Volca Beats briefly before we move on to our last Volca. The final Volca in the lineup today is the Volca Keys. It's got a keyboard similar to the bass, but a little more fleshed out, and it's also a 3-voltage controlled oscillator analog synth, but unlike the bass, it offers a built-in delay. The voice knob sets the operation mode for the VCOs, allowing you to play 3-note chords, unison modes, intervals, and ring modulation modes. 4 columns with 3 rows each give you hands-on control over oscillators, the low-pass filter, the LFO, and the envelope generator. The filter has frequency and resonance controls and sounds terrific, while the LFO can be a saw, triangle, or square wave and can be routed to both the filter and the oscillator frequency. The envelope generator features a knob for attack, a decay release knob, and one for sustain. Unlike the other 2 Volcas, there isn't really a step sequencing mode, although you can turn individual steps on or off. You play your parts on the ribbon keyboard in real time, and they get quantized to the 1-bar 16-step grid, unless you have flux record engaged, and then the sequencer functions as an unquantized looper, which can yield some really cool sounds and effects, especially when used with the delay. The delay can also be locked to tempo for some classic electronic rhythm sequences. A feature that I love about the Volca Keys is motion record. It records the moves you make on the knobs and plays them back in the sequence, and the knobs glow red to let you know they're playing back moves. Lead riffs, bass sounds, chords, rhythm stuff, there's a lot you can do with a 1-bar loop. Let's listen to the Korg Volca Keys. Obviously, there are some limitations with the Volcas. You can't save sounds, only patterns. It's a ribbon keyboard, and you're limited to 8 one-bar loops in memory. Now that said, considering the size and the terrific price point for looping electronic-based music making, they are pretty amazing. They're fun and intuitive to use, sync to analog sequencers and each other via the 1/8" sync jacks, feature MIDI for additional compatibility, and sound terrific. Musicians can use them to create loops for tracks in the studio or for live performance. DJs can use them to create custom loops to work into their sets. Volcas offer a lot of possibilities. I'm Rob from B&H, and thanks for watching.
Whether you're a hobbyist or a professional, B&H has the answers to your questions. Experience a world of technology at our New York City Superstore. Connect with us online or give us a call. Our staff of experts is happy to help.